All right. Good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Welcome to Men Talk, our weekly podcast that I started a little while back. Got off course, but I've been hearing a lot of people wanting me to get it going back. So tonight we got a guest, couple of guests, three guests rather. Ron Green, Joshua Williams, and Curtis Moore, who will be joining us momentarily. And tonight we're going to talk a little bit about some of the things that are going on with our youth, specifically Tupelo, because all three of us are from Tupelo, even though a couple of us have moved away. You know, that's still our hometown. The recent shootings that have been going on in Tupelo, as well as all over the world, really dealing with our young people. So, you know, we just have four guys that, you know, have been out working with youth in our lifetimes, and we want to get some ideas, just kicking around ideas on what we think the problem is, you know, if we can come up with a solution or some ideas. So tonight we have Ron Green, who is, of course, from Tupelo. Everybody knows him. Star football player, baseball player, the whole nine. But Ron, like me, you know, grew up in Tupelo, moved away. Right now, he is a well-established nonprofit thought leader and change agent. Spent over 20 years of his career as part of the Boys and Girls Club worldwide movement. So he went to Sanford University. So I'm not gonna read his whole bio because it's a long one. I'm gonna let him tell you more about what he's doing. We also have my friend, Joshua Williams Sr., who is family because, you know, he's married to Asia, who my daughter. I still call her my daughter. Husband of 5. He's vice president of RMSU, which stands for Real Men Stand Up. Also a pastor and founder of CTC Ministries in Pontotoc. So like I said, I'm not gonna read it all. I'm gonna let these couple of young men give a little bit more about what they're doing. So Ron, we're gonna start with you. Tell us a little bit more about what you are doing or have been doing since you left Tupelo.
Yeah, first of all, Sam, man, I appreciate you having me on, man. It's always good to see you and talk to you.
Yes, sir.
We go way back like flapjacks, right?
Yeah, man. I was just thinking when I was watching the series, I'm saying, Ron, man, when he saw me, man, he didn't really see me in my prime. I had come out of retirement. I should have stayed in retirement. When I came back, I wasn't no good, man. But,
yeah.
saw a little taste.
Yeah, but I think probably the most memorable time, man, we spent together was when we went to the Million Man March. Man,
Yeah.
That's probably the most memorable time, man. That was a good one, man. I know they had others since then, but nothing like the first one, you know.
Yeah, man. That's I mean, it had an impact on my life, of course, and yours too, you know.
Yeah. But I've been, man, since you mentioned sports, and man, since my playing days in college, and had an opportunity to play professionally for a while, baseball. And you know, after that, man, I got involved with the Boys and Girls Club movement. You know, I felt like, you know, what better way to I guess have a career. And I was getting paid to play a game, and then they paid me to play games with kids. So
yeah,
I felt like that was something that that was one of my callings. You know, when I was teaching baseball, the people used to always say, the parents of my clients used to always say, "You're in the wrong profession." I was like, your kid trying to get to where I am right now. And it was like, no, you need to work with young people. You just have a knack for working with young people. And, you know, and I started volunteering at the Boys and Girls Club, and I said 23 years later, This year is my 23rd year
Wow.
of being in the Boys and Girls Club movement. I spent 2 years just volunteering, while I was playing professional baseball.
Mm-hmm.
But since then, I'm the dean, also the dean of the Society of African American Professionals. They call it SOAP. So I help lead African Americans that's in the Boys and Girls Club movement throughout the country. I'm a licensed, certified professional coach and executive coach, just helping people especially who work with young people, just be the best.
You're still in North Carolina, right? Still in North.
I'm in Rocky Mount, North Carolina. I'm married. Still married to Robbie Green now. I stole out of Una, Mississippi.
Okay.
Yeah, so we've been married about 20 plus years now. And
so where is that exactly on Rocky Mountain? Where is that?
That's it's east of Raleigh.
Okay.
Raleigh, yeah. So it's in eastern North Carolina. It's just I guess more known for Buck Leonard was born there. Thelonious Monk.
Okay.
And but probably that had the most. Well, I ain't gonna say that people today know. If I say Hardee's, then you'll know, Rocky Mount was kind of the home of Hardee's.
Okay, good. Yeah. So I guess you like the area, huh? You've been there for how long? You been there?
Yeah, I've been there 10 years now. It's a good area. Great schools in the area. You know about the North Carolina, Duke, and all them, but there's some great HBCUs there. North Carolina A&T, North Carolina Central. Right. My kids, my son and daughter both attend North Carolina A&T.
Sabir was right there on going there, but Tuskegee, his Archie, you remember Archie, my stepson, he went there, and then Milana went there, and it was so convenient, it was just a tradition. So he's doing good over there.
Yeah. Well, he skipped down on the largest HBCU in the country.
I know, man. I know. Yeah. But COVID kind of it stopped us from visiting places like we really wanted to. But it's all good because he's having a great time. But cool, man. So Josh, tell me a little bit more about what you're doing, your ministry, and I know you've been in Tupelo how long?
I want to say since about 2010, so what, 11 years.
Okay.
When I came, I graduated out of Troy, played basketball there from 05 to 09, then ended up graduating right there in December of 09. And from there, I was in Starkville. Stayed in Starkville for a little while, then I moved to Tupelo, and now I'm in Pontotoc. But just a little bit about me, man. I'm from Florida, for those who don't know. Florida boy, down south, you did. But anyway, man, I wish I had a roll out like Ron, man. I'm sitting here like, dang, I don't even know if I got nothing to say like that. But
you're still a young man. You're still a young man.
I'm still wet behind the ear, what they say. But now, man, I'm grateful to be a part of the conversation, man. I started preaching probably at the age of 25, man, at one of the biggest churches there in Tupelo, White Hill. Pastor Daniel, that's my spiritual father, man. Worked with the young people there. Of course, I was still young, so I was still able to be relevant to them. Created a program for Wednesday night, man, that kind of got a lot of young people involved, helping them just, getting on the right path. And man, let me see. It's I was there for I want to say 5-6 years. Then I stepped out, did a little bit of evangelism, man, coming back over in the Pontotoc, going around, preaching and ministering. And then last month, man, answered the call to go ahead and start a church, CTC Ministries. That's committed to Christ Ministries, man. And it was really to fill in the gap, man. And I don't want to get too far into that because I think it got a lot to do with one of the questions you're gonna ask us. But it was something that I knew that I had to do, that I was supposed to do. I drove my feet in doing it,
Okay,
but I'm glad that I done it.
great.
Just to be able to minister to the people and meet the need, man. And we also started a foundation, a 501c3 nonprofit, the Commit Foundation, which is geared to helping, aid the community and, reaching those young people and reaching anybody and everybody that needs help, whether it's through feeding, clothing, helping them, fill out resumes, mentoring and tutoring, all of that, man, is the gist of what we're trying to do in this area for some of the reasons that we're going to discuss tonight. So I'm just excited, man, to be here. I'm like Eddie Murphy, man. I'm just happy to be here.
Cool, man. How's that? You still doing the max out of basketball training?
Yeah, man. Oh yeah. So I forgot all about that anyway. Yeah, I'm started that. That's my business, Max Out Basketball Training. And it kind of started out like Brother Green, man, just teaching the fundamentals to a lot of young people, man. And I was surprised when I started the business, man, back in 2017. 2017, 18. Man, it was just so many young people that really didn't have the fundamentals when it came down to basketball. And I was amazed because these kids was playing JV varsity and they couldn't do a left hand layup on the right leg. And I was like, what is going on? So, it kind of showed me, the need for that, man. And I kind of pushed away from it a little bit, pursuing some other stuff. But of course, I still got the business, man. And I love to teach the young people, man. So
cool.
You said you went to Troy? You went to Troy?
Yeah, Troy University, man.
Yeah, we used to have some battles with Troy in football when I was at Sanford, man.
Yeah, man. Troy always had a nice little stick on the football team, man. The boys been rough for a while.
Yeah, they still good. Troy. Yeah. They always sneak up on somebody every year. Or every once in a while.
Look, they put about 5 or 6 guys in the league every year, man. They gonna do that. They gonna do that.
Cool.
What part of Florida are you from?
Man, born originally in Jacksonville, but my mom was a state trooper, so she got assigned from Jacksonville first, and then we moved back up to North Florida, right there in between the Panhandle, between Tallahassee and Panama City. I grew up in a small town called Bascom, Florida. You can't find it on the map.
Yeah, that's cool, man. Well, I appreciate you guys coming on. Like I said, I knew Ron from way back, and then met you through Asia and Havana. And Curtis, actually, I have never met him in person. I don't know if y'all have or not, but I just been kind of observing him on Facebook. He's the leader of a local NAACP. And so I thought he would be good to come on. But we're gonna go ahead and get started on what we're trying to do. And hopefully he'll chime in here in a little bit. But I wanted to have this session to kind of kick around the ideas about what's going on specifically in Tupelo with the shootings and violence that's going on among the young people. And, of course, if we had all the answers, it wouldn't be no problems. But I just wanted to kind of get you guys' idea on what do you think the root cause is, first of all. And, there's no right or wrong answer, of course, but just give me your take on what the root cause of just violence, taking another life by young people. Ron, what you think?
Well, it always takes me back to Langston Hughes' poem when he talks about, hope, right? When he says, "I too am America," and he goes down. And he says, "What happens?" Now they says, "What happens to a dream deferred?" Okay, and he goes down into it, and he say, "What happens when a dream is deferred?" And it says, "It explodes," right? So it's just like when you feel like young people feel like they're hopeless, and there's no hope. Why would they care about what happened to them if they feel like there's no hope? So if they don't care, if I don't care about myself, why should I care about you? And I think that's one of the major problems is we're not providing enough hope for young people.
Mhm.
You know, it used to be, we used to talk about, dreaming, right? What's your dream? What you want to be when you grow up? A lot of that doesn't happen anymore, and I think in our neighborhoods, and that's one of the things I always talk about is it starts with a dream, right? And then once you get that dream, then you'll work to seeing that dream come to fruition. But if you don't think that you can be anything in life, you don't think there's no hope for you and there's nothing for you here in Tupelo, why should I care about whether I take another life? I don't even care about my life. And that's how I kind of see it. And I think that's what the problem is. We're not instilling enough hope in these young people. A lot of our, man, I hate to say it, man, like, Sam, just like growing up in the neighborhood that we grew up in, man, we had so many legends that we looked at and looked up to, right? Like your dad, man, and others around the neighborhood. We was like, they gave us a sense of inspiration. It gave us a sense of what we could accomplish in life. And then as a young person, when you don't see enough of that, then once you stop seeing that, then you said, okay, well, I guess that's not possible for me.
That's interesting that you said that. I don't know the specifics on the shootings. Who I know. One of my family was involved. Their child was involved. But you were saying that there's no hope, and it would seem like that there would be more of that nowadays because the world is smaller. Like everything pretty much is at your disposal what you want to do. Even though you're in Tupelo, a small town, it's a small world, like with the advent of internet, phones, all of this, you have access to so much more than we had access to. We didn't have access to a lot of things, but like you were saying, even though they have access to all of this stuff on the internet, the person to person is not there because people are so busy, doing, and I'm not trying to make excuses for nobody. I'm not saying it's the parents' fault, nobody's fault, but I'm just saying like we have access to stuff, but as far as the person one-on-one stuff, obviously is not there. What do y'all think? What do you think, Josh?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I gotta agree with Brother Ron, man. And then add to the point of not having hope, but also not even teaching them how to pursue purpose. When I think about it, man, like he was saying, he was hitting on the same lines of what I was going to say. When I think about, the young men, that's what Real Men Stand Up is for. It's for those young men that, that need to find their purpose and want to be doing something on purpose. I put it like this. If someone, just like Brother Ron was saying, if someone feels like they don't have a purpose in life, then there's nothing else, there's no boundary there to stop them from taking someone else's life, right?
Mm-hmm.
But when you have purpose, then now guess what? Your life has value. And now, because your life has value, you can look at that other person and you can know also that their life have value. And so if we can find a way to get them to understand that there's purpose. And I know that, everybody ain't gonna want to hear the preacher man talk about it, but God placed everybody here with a purpose. And when we begin to understand that and we walk in that purpose, then it gives us the understanding that every person on this earth has value. And I'm more hesitant to think about taking a life now because I realize that person purpose may be down the line that they help me or somebody in my family or whatever, you know what I mean? And so, I think it has a lot to do with, and maybe, I'm a parent, so, I can point the finger on me too. Maybe it comes down to the way we're parenting now. A lot of young people are having kids and these young people raising young people, you know what I mean? And back in the day, we was growing up, I'm a little younger than y'all, but I still kind of grew up old school. You had grown folks who taught you how to stay in a child's place, but then you also had them to encourage you to go out and do something positive, you know. And so, like Brother Ron was saying, man, that negativity that they see, you know, it's so fluent around them. That's the language that they speak now, you know, the negative and the violence, you know.
You know,
So we gotta kind of divert that.
I keep going back to social media because I think out of everything in the world right now, you know what I mean, social media is good in a lot of ways. It's we're able to communicate more than ever with people that we wouldn't normally be able to communicate with. But the influence, I think, of social media is so strong right now with kids and really with adults too. I mean, because let's be honest, like a whole lot of people are addicted to social media. Like I'm talking about like addicted. Like when they get up in the morning, that's the first, and I say they, you know what I mean, because I can fall victim to that too if I don't watch it, you know what I mean? So social media is so powerful, and the images that many of these kids are seeing are not the best image. You know what I mean? Like they're seeing people out here that's flaunting their cars, flaunting their money, flaunting the watches, whatever, you know what I mean? Like, and that's what they see every day when they first wake up. You know what I mean? They pop on Instagram, they pop on Facebook, whatever. They seeing all these people with all this stuff. And I'm not saying that's the root cause of the shootings or whatever, but that is a cause. You know what I mean? It's, a lot of times it's either money or a girl or whatever, drugs or whatever. So how can we combat that social media influence?
Well, Sam, one thing I'm gonna say is that another problem that happened, and then we can go to that as far as talking about a solution is young people don't know how to communicate anymore. You know, used to I had to talk to you, right?
Right.
Now I can text you and I can be as bad as I want on social media with my thumbs. I call them internet gangsters. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. I don't have to come and say nothing, talk to you, and we don't know how to talk in general. They don't know how to hold a conversation. It's hard to even have a young person to look you in your eye when they talk to you now. Yeah. So if I have a problem with you, I don't know how to talk it out anymore. The only thing I know is I don't talk no more. You know, that's the thing. They say, no, forget the talking. Yeah. You know, I know I got something else for you. You know, and see, and that's the problem with young people right now. There's social skills. You know, we talk about giving them, you know, soft skills for work, but they need soft skills for life to be able to just communicate with people. So
that's true, man.
And I give you a quick example. So, and I think I can't remember who said this, but it was they said you walk in a club and you don't have a gun in your pocket. You step on somebody's shoe or somebody step on your shoe, you don't have a gun in your pocket. They say, excuse me, man, I'm sorry, man. And then you'll be like, hey, bro, that's all good, bro, because you said I'm sorry, right?
Right.
But if you got a gun in your pocket, they step on, excuse me, bro. Man, why don't you watch where you going, man? See, you see what I'm saying? So it's that we don't know how to solve conflict without violence now, because social media has shown to us that violence is acceptable because we flaunt it on social media. It gets the most likes. You know, it goes viral when somebody get knocked out or somebody get beat up. So they were showing them that that's acceptable, and that's going to get the greatest response because, you know, they're on social media for likes.
Yeah.
You know? So let's do something that people would like, and it's becoming acceptable.
Yeah, I was one of the questions I had posed is the fact that, you know, weapons now are so available. I mean, they're, you know, a lot of times when older people talk about, you know, youngsters, they're like, well, you know, we duked it out with our fists. But now, I mean, you're not gonna get that. You know what I mean? The best way is to stay out of conflict. And like you say, it starts on social media, because now you can basically walk in a sporting goods store in Atlanta, and like within an hour, you can have a weapon. You know what I mean? So like, it's so easy to get a weapon now. And so kids, they back themselves in a corner, like you said, they talking on social media, and they don't think they're gonna have to meet that person. And when they meet them, they already got a gun, and they don't know how to fight because none of them have fought before. You know what I mean? Like, and so, and then you got the embarrassment factor. It's just so many factors that's playing into play here. So it's a tough job, but there's a way. I think, like you were saying, Ron, is just the fact that we really got to get back to communication, because even a lot of grown-ups now, they don't know how to communicate. Like, they don't want to talk to you on the phone no more. Like, it's like texting or app or whatever. You know what I mean? People don't have communication skills. So that, I think that is key, is that we got to get back to actually teaching kids how to communicate from a young age. And I won't say that technology is bad. I'll never say that that the internet is bad, because it's not bad. You know what I mean? It's how you use it, because we have access now. The internet makes all excuses null and void. You know what I mean? Like, you can't say that I can't be this. You know what I mean? There's kids that go on YouTube and learn how to fix a car at 2 years old. I mean, not 2 years old, but 5 and 6 years old. There's kids that learn how to do operations. I'd be seeing stories of kids in these remote villages, that are actually like surgeons in their villages by going on the internet. You know what I mean? So it is good, but at the same time, we have to catch them early and teach them that the internet and these tools they're there, but we gotta give them some parameters. And I think a lot of times with parents now is that they don't spend enough time with their children at a young age. You know what I mean? Like, they're busy on Facebook and Instagram, and so they just throw the tablet to the child, to keep them occupied, and the internet raises them. You know what I mean? So I think that's the key, is that we gotta start instilling that in the young parents, probably, that you really need to spend some quality time with your children at a young age. And everybody chasing the dollar, I got that. You know what I mean? Like, it's not easy to live in America, because it takes a lot of money to live. But you gotta, when your child is young, you gotta sacrifice that. I mean, you had the child, you gotta sacrifice that time to spend with them, so that they'll get the basic knowledge of what they need when they do go out there, on their own, so, yeah.
Yeah. I want to add too, man, because I think, man, I got to piggyback off of Ron, man, because the social media is kind of like, it's you got to chew up the meat and spit out the bone, man. But we haven't, or we don't do a good job of filtering the internet from our children, man. Like, my daughter is, my oldest daughter, 16. She couldn't get an Instagram till she turned 16. Before she was trying to get on it and all of that, man, we would go through her phone and look at that stuff and be like, what is this? And I think so many parents, man, at the end of the day, we want to be friends with our kid, man.
Right.
One thing that I know and y'all know, when we was growing up, we was not friends with our parents. They were our parents, was the child. You know what I mean? And so you had this healthy fear, of your parent, that you weren't gonna do certain things, because you respected them and you honored them in a way. Even if you didn't like what they said, you were still gonna do what they said. Mm-hmm. But now, man, like you were saying, Sam, you got the young parent, they on Instagram, they trying to have it popping, And then, you know, they raise their child and their child is seeing that too. And so
Yeah.
there's no filter there. Just like, you know, a lot of the, you know, R-rated stuff and all of that. Like, man, you exposing them to that stuff. You know, it was certain stuff, y'all know, it was certain movies we couldn't watch. It was certain stuff we couldn't see. You know what I mean? Because our mama and them weren't going for it, you know? And so, you know, creating that boundary, you know, I think our filters have just like really went out the window with social media, you know, if we're gonna look at it like that, you know, because once I can remember, shoot, it probably was like, man, it was like when Instagram first really came out. And I think I may have had one for my business page. And this one of the ladies that I was servicing the stock with this job that I had. And she told me that her daughter had an Instagram. And I looked, I said, how old is your daughter? I think she might have been like 12, 11, 12. And I said, you let her have an Instagram? And she said, yeah, she just be talking to her friends on there. And you know me, I'm looking like, say what? I said, you must don't know what Instagram is.
I think
I said,
too,
man, she can see whatever she wants to.
yeah, not to cut you off, but I think one of the things we have to do is just also be real with our kids, because let's be honest, like a lot of this stuff, as much as we try to hold from them, they're gonna come into contact with it. You know what I mean? Like at home, yes. But when they go out, you know what I mean? Like when they go out into the world, they're gonna be exposed. So I think one of the things we have to do is just be real with them. You know what I mean? And a lot of times, like you were saying, you know, parents do want to be friends with their children, but at the same time, they don't want to tell them the real deal of what's going on or what the real is. You have to be real with them, and you can't come to them in those situations like you were no angel. A lot of times parents, you know, they try to pull stuff over their kids' eyes, and their kids know, you know what I mean? They know that you were once a kid, you know what I mean? So when you come to them, you got to come to them saying, okay, yes, I was this way. I'm telling you from experience, you know what I mean? Like, this is what's gonna happen to you if you do this, this, and this. I can't stop you from doing this, this, and this, because you're not gonna be with me 24/7. But if you do this, this is what's gonna happen to you. You know what I mean? And so when it does happen, not saying nothing bad has to happen, but some of those things that will happen to them, they'll start thinking back, okay, yeah, my dad told me this, you know what I mean? Like, and my mom told me this, you know, but if you try to shield everything from them, you know what I mean? Like, that's kind of gonna make them a little bit more inquisitive, you know what I mean? Like, that's human nature, kind of like the stuff that people tell us not to do, we do, you know? So you have to have a filter, like you said, Josh, but at the same time, you gotta be real too, you know what I mean? Because they know that, you know, mama can't be with me all the time, daddy can't be with me all the time. And yes, that fear is there, but you know, some things are stronger than fear, you know what I mean? So we gotta be real, you know what I mean? So I agree though, I totally, we gotta set boundaries, you know what I mean? Like sometimes we don't set no boundaries because let's be real, a lot of when I was in school system, and I haven't taught in about 10 years, you know what I mean? I taught for about 8 years over here. And I noticed that a lot of the single mothers, they're actually scared of their sons. Like, they're scared of them, really. You know what I mean? Like, and so when the son gets like 13, 14 years old, like, you know, the mom starts treating him like a boyfriend or something. Like, it's really weird dynamic, man. Like, and I'm sure, Ron, you see this too all the time, you know. And so yeah, that's a dynamic that's really, really weird. So we have to kind of keep an eye out for that, you know, in our own kids, you know, and make sure that doesn't happen, because that's a real thing, you know. Yeah.
You know, when you set boundaries, going back to something Josh said, you know, he was saying when you setting boundaries and you helping. See, my wife says this all the time. She said, your kids need help growing up. They a lot of parents just, they let them do what they want to do or whatever. And then when they come and have a really tough decision, they get in trouble or something, then they want to come and ask, say, hey, I want your influence now. But so when you're setting those boundaries, it's just like when somebody is herding sheep or something, you set the boundaries and then you guide them to where you want them to go. So when a young person is growing to what they can and should become, whatever that's going to be, whatever they're going to grow into, I'm sure no parent, I'm hoping not, when a kid is young saying, and I want you to grow up to be a killer. I'm sure they're not saying, but they're trying to, it's how you grow them and you got to lead and guide them. It's kind of like when you do at a nonprofit board, right? You drive the car from the back seat, you're leading and guiding them, as they get older, you're showing them where they should go and trying to help them to grow into what they can and should become. But it's things like Josh was talking about, helping to instill in them, like you say, okay, you can't do this, or I want you to understand this is not okay in my house, or this is, so when he's doing that, he's instilling certain values into his daughter. So as she grows older, those things are not going to leave there. And she may go out and say, I'm going to try this or do this, but in her mind, she's thinking, should I do this or should I not? A lot of times when young people get ready to do a violent act, they don't have that split second of thinking, what was put into my mind to say that I shouldn't do this or this is not how I should respond to this. They don't have the rationality of being able to say, dang, if I do this, what is going to happen to me? Or if I do this, what is going to happen to my community? They're quick to say, I'm going to do it, and whatever the consequence is, I'm going to take it, because we try to glorify being able to go to prison and spend X number of years. We try to glorify being able to say, man, I shot here, I shot this person or did that. We try to glorify that. Prison shouldn't be glorified. And we glorify it a lot of times in our neighborhoods and, in our rap song, I did 5 years, man, and blah, 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 blah. And you say, you proud of that? You understand what I'm saying? And I think that we need to get back to saying, these are some standards that we should hold for young people in our neighborhood. How do we help to push them to saying, I need you to live up to these standards, versus saying, going back to what you said, Sam, like a lot of these moms, they like, shoot, I'm just happy he don't come in there and snap on me and when he come home. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And then we got to get away from that. And then you got to start going back to, like you said, a village raising. When we were coming up, might be down the street cutting up, and they look and they say, oh, that's Shirley's son. They call him Shirley and saying, hey, your son down here on doing this, this, and this. When I got home, my mama was ready with that left hand belt. You know what I mean?
You was talking about the jails. I remember when we were in school, we went to they had this program called Scared Straight. They didn't have it in Tupelo, I don't think, but like I was in the Methodist church and we went off to South Carolina, Anderson, South Carolina, to Lake Junaluska up there. And we actually went through one of the Scared Straight programs. Like, we weren't like deviants or anything, but we were a church group and we were in with other juveniles that had been through the system that was in. So we went into the prison, and I'm telling you, like, that made an impact on me. You know what I mean? So I think that's one of the programs that we may need to look at reinstitute, maybe on a local level, is just showing kids, I know COVID's going on right now, but like at some point, just like taking them through jails, you know what I mean? And letting them see what it really is like, in a jail. And some of them, it's probably not still gonna phase them because they probably been through a lot, but if it'll deter one from going, you know what I mean? Because some of them, they think it's gravy in there, but like it ain't no joke in jail, I mean, I was fortunate enough, I am fortunate enough to never have spent a night in jail, you know what I mean? But I have been in a few prisons. I used to go to Lee County Jail on Sundays. when I was in the Nation, and then down to Parchment. You know, and I got enough of it then to know that, I don't want no part of it, man. I don't want no part of it. And I think a lot of kids would too, if they could just see the inside of a jail in what's really going on as opposed to what they hearing, you know what I mean? So that might be something on a local level that we might need to look at instituting is a local type of scared straight. Yeah.
I think that would be good, man. I have a few brothers of mine that have done some time, man, and they ain't do no baby time. I'm talking about, they did serious time. And I don't know none of them that'll volunteer and say, I'm gonna go back. You know
right.
what I mean?
Right.
Because they was in there, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And it was something serious. And then, even what, to kind of go back to what Ron was saying, man, when he was talking about, the songs glorifying that and stuff, man, they don't tell you the part that somebody got to tell you when you can get up and go to sleep, when you can eat, when you can do whatever, you know what I mean? And you don't want to follow rules out here when you free, you know what I mean? But when you get in there, you ain't got no choice,
Yeah.
And so they call it a correctional facility because guess what they do? They give you boundaries, they set standards, and they make you have to do what they tell you to do. Just
I
like
talked to
if
this
we would
one
do
guy that said that a lot of guys actually enjoy that. The repeat people, like, you seen these people that go back to prison. They really enjoy those boundaries because they don't have them out here. Like they don't have no kind of structure out in the world. So like they actually not enjoy the prison system itself, but like the boundaries and that it gives them. So that was an interesting point though, what you were saying though, yeah. But I want to move on to the next topic about the law enforcement, and I don't know what happened to Curtis, but maybe we could get him on another time if he doesn't chime in. But like, that's a touchy situation too, the law enforcement as it relates to interaction with the Black community. Of course, you got the Black Lives Matter and you got the whole police brutality situation that's been going on. So police are not, historically, been our friends in the Black community, although they are our friends, you know what I mean? Let's just be real. None of us can make it without police. But at the same time, I know in little small towns like Tupelo and other places in America, there is a conspiracy, you know what I mean? Like I was in the Nation, and Mr. Farrakhan, he talks a lot about that. But even before I went into the Nation, I'll tell you something that happened to me that I never will forget. And it kind of drove me to the Nation. I was, this was 1993, I want to say. Like I got out of military in 91. I moved back to Tupelo. And, I was a so-called young leader or whatever in the town, you know what I mean? And so I was meeting with, this is like 3 or 4 other Blacks, and then there was a lot of, prominent leaders in Tupelo, bank, like head of banks. Like we were meeting up in the top floor of the bank, you know what I mean? They were setting the course for Tupelo. It was called Tupelo 2000. This was in 93 or 94. They were setting the course for Tupelo, in the 2000s, a year beyond. And so, the chief of police was there, the sheriff, everybody. Like we were sitting around this table, and they had this map. I never will forget. It was so weird. Like they had this map of everything. They were talking about. It was before they called it Park Hill. Up there where the hill is now. They did this renovation or whatever. But on the map, they had crack house, like on the map. And they passed it out to everybody at the table, and the chief, was there, and the sheriff was there, and they just kind of laughed. Yeah, there's a crack house here, and I'm like, okay, y'all sitting here telling us that that there's a crack house, which everybody knew. I mean, it was right down there on Green Street, you know, right there. And, you know, it used to be a big old crack house, you know what I mean? So I'm saying that to say that law enforcement, they know everything that's going on. You know what I mean? They have these murders and stuff, and they claim they can't find the people and all of this stuff. You know, you got crack dealers that sell crack. You know, everybody knows who they are. You know what I mean? So there is a conspiracy, you know, to destroy not just, you know, blacks, but poor whites too. You know what I mean? So what do y'all think about that? You know, how can we hold, you know, them more accountable for doing their job? And is there a way for us to break this conspiracy to destroy black men, or are we just victims of it? What do y'all think about that?
Ooh, I'm gonna jump on here first because I got an interesting point of view. I think because I grew up in a house of law enforcement, right? My mom was a state trooper for 29 years, Florida Highway Patrol, FHP, right? And my mom was dang good at her job. And so I saw policing done right. I saw law enforcement being held to a high standard. And I also knew that there was some folks that didn't like my mom because of that. But the reason why I say, you know, my point of view is a little bit different because I can remember, man, you know, growing up, knowing that people knew who my mother was. And it will be certain times, man, and I live in the house with law enforcement, but it will be certain times, you know, where me and my sister couldn't play in our front yard because people didn't like that my mama was doing her job right, you know. And so I saw the dynamic of what good officers, you know, and good law enforcement abiding officers have to deal with on the other side of them doing their job right. I ain't talking about doing wrong now. I'm talking about doing her job right. And so, you know, I can remember, you know, having to move vehicles, you know, having to play in certain areas, making sure that we was in the house at a certain time, especially if my mother was on the evening shift and those people may have known that, you know, that didn't like her. And so I saw, you know, the ugly side of the good police, you know what I'm saying, the good officer. And so with that being said, man, there was a lot of people that I knew around town, you know, that knew my mama that was in law enforcement, the sheriffs, you know, the sheriffs and the city police and stuff like that. And so personally, I didn't have a big problem with it. But my mom taught me how to handle situations with officers who may didn't know my mama and who may have known her. You know what I'm saying? And so, you know, in our communities, man, a part of what made my mother's job successful is that she policed the area that she was familiar with. People knew her. And I think a lot of the times we get police officers in our communities who don't live there, who don't care who lives there, and don't take the time to know who lives there. You know, and I say it like this, and why it makes sense to me to say this is because if Brother Ron has a son that has autism, and I live in this neighborhood, and I'm policing this neighborhood, when I get a call and they tell me that there's a young man that seems out of control, and when I get there to the scene and I realize that it's Brother Ron's son and he has autism, I know how to de-escalate this situation now because I'm in the neighborhood. I know the people. And so I know to say, hey, man, Ron, where you at, man? Look, this your son. What I'm going to do is, you know, I'm going to make sure don't nobody come bother with him, but I need you to get down here right now. I need you to kind of calm him down because these other officers don't know your son like I do. You see what I'm saying? And I think a lot of that has to do with the way that we interact with the police. If you got somebody who don't know who you are, man, I was watching the video and I'll make it short, but I was watching the video the other day and it was this guy, he was a paraplegic, and the officer was telling him to get out the car. And he said, sir, I can't get out the car by myself. I'm a paraplegic. You know what I mean? And so the
Yeah, I
officer
saw that.
getting frustrated and getting mad with him. You know what I'm saying? And I'm like, man, we got to learn how to de-escalate situations first, you know, and show them that just, I know you here to protect and serve, but you don't have to treat me hostile. You know what I mean? Just because you have your own assumption on why I'm acting this way or why I'm doing this. And I think vice versa too. You know, for the Black community, man, we can't just all automatically think, well, this guy is racist or this guy, he just want to shoot me, which we do know they will. You know what I mean? We do know that. But I think we have to look at it on both sides, man, and understand, you know, I'm with you when they talk about a conspiracy. On certain stuff, I'm with you with that when it comes to that now. But I do feel like it comes from, you know, those people not really knowing the people in the community. And if you don't know the people in the community, when you get to a certain situation, you're going to think a certain way. You know what I mean? But here's the crazy thing. In law enforcement, most officers that are killed by somebody they know. And somebody that gets shot is killed by somebody they know. So I say that with hopes of us understanding that we can come to a head on it in some way, but then at the same time, statistically, you know, it's hard to say.
Good. Well, we got Charles Moore on today. How you doing?
Fine. I apologize, man. I've just got out of our executive meeting.
I understand. We just happy to have you. Been kicking around some of the questions that I gave to y'all. We've had a good discussion so far. For those of you who don't know, Charles Curtis Moore, 52 years of age, been married for 33 years, right?
Well, we've
So
actually got
Huh?
when we met, we felt we was married then, but we've been married officially by the United States. It's 27.
Okay. Well, we'll go with the 33. But he's, among other things, the local head of the NAACP. And we've been talking about the violence among our youth in Tupelo, and not just Tupelo, but all over America, really. We have Ron Green and Joshua Williams. I don't know if you're familiar with either one of these two brothers, but Ron and I go way back. I'm a little bit older than him, but we played baseball together. And when I was in the Nation, he was a very big supporter. And Joshua I met through my daughter, Asia. And so he's a local minister. Well, he's in Pontotoc, actually. It has a group there. And Ron's been with the Boys and Girls Club for how long? 20, how many years?
23 years now.
23 years. Right now he's in North Carolina, but he's from.
I know Charles.
Oh, you know Charles? Okay,
we go way
Yeah,
back.
Ron, man.
We go way back,
okay.
man.
Well, I'm the only one really don't know you, Charles. I just saw you online. You know, I've been out of Tupelo, gone from Tupelo about 25 years or so. And, you know, I really respected what I've seen of you, you know, and the job that you're doing. You remind me a lot of Reverend Jameson. He was over the NAACP when I was in Tupelo. And I joined the Nation of Islam in 1995, but before then, you know, I was doing work with Reverend Jameson, you know, community work there. And then, like I said, I joined the Nation in 95, and he continued to support us. And I served on a lot of, you know, committees and different things with them. And so, you know, I just really respected your, you know, your voice. You know what I mean? I always look at a preacher, first of all, you know, of how fearless they are. That, to me, that's the number one thing I look for, because like, you're gonna be challenged, you know what I mean? Like, and some preachers, they will back down, you know what I mean? Like, they have stuff that they're not free, you know, and that's what I could see in you. And so just tell us a little bit more about what you're doing here in Tupelo.
Wow, man. Well, thank you. I appreciate the honor, man. I'm trying to be the change. I've always wanted to be the change that I wanted to see wherever I go. That's just the way I live. Treat people with respect and honor. Even we service homeless people. We service thousands of people, from homeless to not homeless. And of course, being in NAACP, we've got major things that we're doing now that I just thought was uncalled of at this time in 2021. But some of these issues we're dealing with is back in the 50s and 40s, man, with some of the things that I'm seeing. But with that, we're fighting the good fight as well as we can. No, we're not afraid. I'd like to speak truth to power. I like to bring a balance to truth. I'm not afraid to actually say what I mean what I say, and prove it. I'm not challenged by someone stopping my dollar. I'm not controlled by my dollar. My gift controls my dollar. No one else has control of that. So I thank God that I'm free there. Some other people can't do that because they've adjusted their lives to how they get paid, how they live their lives. So freedom is, to me, is no boundaries. My only boundary is my wife and my children.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And so I got a fence around them, and I pray no one crosses that fence to violate them.
Yeah.
But other than that, we are now we're putting together track. We're starting track and field with our youth. We'll be doing ages from, I think, from 7 all the way up to 16. We'll be starting programs that those that are challenged here in the city of Tupelo, with it being so large in one high school, all the kids doesn't get to participate in sports. We want to create an avenue and a venue where we still can get those kids to participate in sports. Main thing is we're mentoring people. We're changing minds through situations, through the things that they love, and we're getting in the midst of the things that they love, but just to mentor them. I was the owner of 2 minor league football teams, and there was men from ages 18 to 35. The challenge there is that most men don't understand fatherhood. Most men were mad at me because of what they didn't see in their father, which was discipline, balance, structure, no fear, support. And believe it or not, men will get mad at you if you support them the way a father should. Some of them will. Okay, you think, nah, they wouldn't. Begin to serve a man, begin to discipline a grown man in ways that he's not used to. Structure him, give him boundaries to balance his family and his children. And he's not used to that. He would think that he's being demeaned, but he's actually being helped. And he will turn on you. He will fight you. He will until he recognizes this is what I've been dreaming of and what I've been needing, but I don't know how to accept it. I don't know how to respond to this. I can accept my mama. Men can accept women challenging them, but they can't really accept men challenging them.
That's true.
You know, why? You know, so those are things that I've done. That's what all of my program before. We invested our own money to be the change we always wanted to see. I don't believe that you should, I give you a vision and I tell you now, Sam, you got to pay for this without me putting in the first fruit of it. You can be included in it, but I don't think you should be the primary source for all the things that we do. My wife and I fund 90% of everything that we do. We've been fortunate enough to be established like this. I can work in 50 states. And I've worked in, I know 35. I've traveled several states to do what I do. I do custom work, construction work. I've been, like I said, been in ministry for over 26 years. Been pastoring. We established 2 churches. Our second church we've established, Life Coach Empowerment Center. The first one was New Generation Ministries in Fulton. Excuse me. I closed that one, and then later we did some other work. Established a program in Verona. We took a whole program there. We did football, basketball. We never got to track, and we had golf and tennis on the mound to do it. And it was just a mentoring program to an impoverished area. And what we did in that, they said, how are they going to pay for it? And I said, guys, if you can buy cigarettes, you can pay for it. If you can buy a beer, walk down to the corner store and buy a beer and walk back and drinking it, you can pay for this.
Yeah.
And so that's what we did. We allowed them to pay their $5 they was going to put on their cigarettes. That out of the $10 they was going to put on that cigarette pack, it was, I think cigarette pack was $7. I said, give me $5. Go buy you a couple of cigarettes for your sacrifice for your child.
Yeah.
They give me $5. Next week I'm coming back doing the same thing until they pay for it.
Yeah.
It's a long process, but I wanted to show them that the community, there's money in the community. That's why the Arabs established their store down there. That's why Dollar General moves in an impoverished community, because they know there's money there. Although they're impoverished, there's still money there, but their mind's just impoverished. So that's what we try to do, motivate people. That's what we call Life Coaching Empowerment Center. We want to motivate people from the inside, let them see what they don't see.
That's great. We've been talking about the issue of violence, and we're not gonna, for the sake of time, go back over everything. We've kind of kicked around some ideas. First of all, the root, problem of violence, what we thought about it. So I wanted to get your take before we go to our last question, since you're here. What do you think is the root cause of this violence? And, in a nutshell, what are some of the ways you think we can curb it?
Well, I just spoke to a group of about 16 at PALS, young men, 16, 17 at PALS. They're playing basketball, and I was invited over there to speak. And I actually went and changed and put on this here, my tie, my jacket and suit. Well, I spoke about 4 months ago, and I had my old work clothes on to a whole different crew. And they mentioned my name before. And so I asked them, who are you? Some of them said they were a basketball player. I said, no, that's what you do. Who are you? They said, well, I'm a human. I said, but who are you? If you don't know who you are, then anything you're going to do for the moment. You change shoes. Now they got the shoes with the white bottoms on them that men are wearing. Okay. They had Stacey Adams when they came out. I said, how many of you guys got Jordan? They got Jordan shoes playing basketball. Why do you have them? I like them. Why do you like them? What is there to like about them? Everybody else had them. So they're not really thinking about who they are. So anything that comes along, they'll spend their money on it. They'll spend their life on it. And before you know it, you recognize you spent your whole life on nothing and you still don't know who you are. You're unhappy. At the end of the day, get down to the end of your road, land in your sick bed. What did I do with my life? You're first a man. Now let's describe what a man is. What's the purpose of a man being in the earth? What is the purpose? Now, out of those things you describe what a man is supposed to be, which one are you? Which one would you say that's what I'm created for? You don't know this. And I told them, I'm the greatest thing God ever created. And they looked, I said, do you have a problem with that? I said, because I don't have haters. Do you have haters? They said, yeah. I said, why do you have haters? Well, people just don't want me to do this. I said, you think they don't want you to do it. But most of them really don't care anything about you. Most of them don't even feed you. But if you don't understand that everything in the world should motivate you and not depress you, then how they feel about you would affect how you live the rest of your life.
Right.
So I got to get them to see this. So what I've been doing with people and young people is getting them to see first how you've been disenfranchised, how you've been taught, and how you haven't been taught. Many times, not teaching people is still teaching people. See what I'm saying? Not teaching people the right way is still teaching people. So now I'm teaching you that you're the greatest thing, and be okay with saying you're the greatest thing. It doesn't take anything from Samuel or Ron or Joshua because I say I'm the greatest thing God ever created. Because why? Every dog should wag his own tail.
I think you touched on something that not to cut you off, but I think that at the root of people's unhappiness, is the fact that they allow outside circumstances to determine how they are feeling inside. You know
Yes.
what I mean? Like, and that goes for relationships, it goes for, job, whatever, you know what I mean? Because whatever's going on outside of you should not affect what's going on inside. You have control. If you can't control what's going on inside of you, you know what I mean? You're gonna always be unhappy, you know what I mean? No matter how much money you get, people that have money are suffering just as much as people without money because they don't know how to control what's going on inside of them. They allow what's going on outside of them to control how they feel, and that's one of the things that I have tried to pick up on, because life is a learning process, you know what I mean? I'm 59 years old, but like I'm constantly learning every day, you know what I mean? And that's why I try to tell young kids that be like, man, I'm 35 and I don't know, you know what I mean? I'm disappointed. I see all these people with all this stuff. They're doing better than me. I'm saying, man, you're a baby. You know what I mean? You're 40 years old. You're a baby. You don't learn how to live until you get 45, 40, 50. You know what I mean? Like you learn how to live. You constantly learning. And, once you learn that however you're feeling is your doing and not what's going on outside of you. I mean, there's a scripture that says, all things work for good, you know what I mean, for those who love the Lord. And, we say that, but we really don't really believe everything that goes on. You know what I mean? Like, it's a learning experience behind it, and you have to take whatever's going on, whatever's given to you outside of you, and you have to take that and make it work for you. There's a lesson behind everything. And so I think once we get people to understand that, and once we understand it, then, this stuff, this violence that we were talking about, the social media and these internet bullies and all this stuff, you know what I mean? None of that will matter, but, I think we're missing that, like Ron was saying, is that, children are just not being taught, you know what I mean? Because a lot of adults, we don't have time, you know what I mean? Like, adults are too busy chasing the dollar and on Facebook themselves to actually have the one-on-one communications. Ryan was saying that kids now, they just don't know how to communicate. You know what I mean? In person, they know how to do it on the phones, but they don't know how to communicate in person, So, yeah. Yeah, man, you're doing a lot of great things. And I think it's good that all of us are into sports, because that's really, I mean, when it boils down to it, Black people specifically, you can say what you want, but we in sports, we have actualized ourselves. We have reached the pinnacle. That's one area, and I'm not saying intellectually, engineering, all that stuff, that's not important, but I'm just saying you can reach a kid through sports like no other way. Your nephew, Nate. I remember Nate when I was teaching at Thomas Street. Nate, I mean, Nate went through it, man, because they couldn't touch Nate, and Nate he had so much darn energy, man. Like I've never seen a kid that young that was so powerful. Like Nate was, I mean, he wasn't the biggest kid, but like he had so much power and energy built up in him. And like when you crossed him, like I saw Nate, I swear, he was in the 3rd grade, man. It was a grown policeman came in and he was about to handcuff Nate. Nate was a 3rd or 4th grade. This dude could not handle Nate in the 3rd or 4th grade. but Nate wasn't a bad person because I used to take him outside. The teachers, they'd always send him to my office. I'd take him outside. First thing I'd do, get a football. Start throwing football, calm him down a little bit. Then we could talk. And then they would get mad at me like, you're supposed to be punishing. I'm like, no, that's not, I gotta calm him down. So I know what calms him down. I take him outside, throw the football. So I say that to say, sports really that's our teaching tool that we really gotta take advantage of even more. And I know, Charles, you're already doing it. Joshua's doing it. Ron's doing it. Everybody's doing it. But I think as a community, we just got to really, really do it more. Is just use sports, man, because that's always a teaching tool, and it's always a draw. It's a draw, like basketball, football, any sport, really. Because Black kids can, they can see themselves being successful in sports. And so you have to use that to get to them even more. So, I didn't mean to cut you off, but yeah, I appreciate it. But we've been on here about an hour and a half already. And I just want to, last couple of things before we go rather. And we can do this again. I really appreciate y'all coming on. And we'll try to make it every so often. I know everybody's busy, and again, Ron, I definitely tell Ron, man, my condolences about his son. But last two things was I want to talk about the politics, the National Democratic Party, and how they make all these promises to us, as a race, but that particular issue, they always throw up the gun control thing, but what is really going on? Like, what is it y'all think that they could do more of insofar as helping this situation? And then, the church, y'all have already said what you're doing, and that's to be commended, but how do we get everybody, all the churches on board to, because we got some huge churches out there, and some of them are doing things, but how do we get, the church, let's be real, that's the most organized organization in our community. It has been historically, and it's played a great role. So they have most of the resources collectively, in our community. So how do we get the churches to be more involved?
Let me say something. I got to jump off real quick. Try to catch my aunt before she leaves. But the one thing that the Democratic Party has to do is stop stop taking the Black vote for granted and thinking that you're going to automatically get the Black vote just because they're a Democrat, right? They're Democratic Party. And if they don't start, some of, those promises, is just like those things that say, if you don't fulfill some of those promises, sooner or later those promises have no value, right? Or I don't value your promise. So if somebody borrow money from you, they say, man, I promise I'm gonna pay you back. But if you don't never pay me back, then next time you ask to borrow me some money, it's not gonna I can't believe in you, right? And that's what's happening. And there's so many people are losing the belief in the party. And, and I understand why they need parties, right? But at the end of the day, the power still lies within the people.
Yeah.
Until we, as long as they continue to convince us that we don't have the power, the power is in the vote. You can see that with Obama, right? If the second time around, we get out the vote, right? But that's the power of the we got power in the, Charles said this earlier, we got power in the Black dollar. I don't care if they put a store in the worst neighborhood, it's gonna make some money, right? It's power in the Black dollar, but it's also power in the Black vote. And we got to remember that and continue to teach that that your vote matters and your vote counts. And this last time I say, I had in Rocky Mount, you know, the majority, the population is, we have about 65% African Americans, and so you got the majority, and the majority on the council. But one of the things is that we don't build our candidates up so that when they get in office, that they can really hold the office or do the best job they can do in the office, right? They basically say, we just need a Black face in this office, because, you know, Black people need to be at the table. But, you know, I challenge them and say, but they got to be ready, because they do more harm than they do good. They're just like with affirmative action, put somebody in a position. If they're not any good, then the next time that position comes available, they're going to say, well, see, we already tried that already, right? But, you know, and I had some people that were mad at me because I told them I value my voting too much to vote for somebody who never speaks to me. But I never one time came to visit the Boys and Girls Club and say, what can we do to help our young people in the community? My vote is too valuable for that. And until people start to realize that their vote has value to it, then we will continue to get the same results that, you know, from the party. We accept everything that they say and do, you know. And so that's kind of how I look at it when it comes down to the political spectrum. Value your vote.
One of the things
that you value it. Yeah.
One of the things that we can do, and I take this from Mr. Farrakhan back in 2000, the Million Family March. And he said that what we need to do is organize a third party, not to run, but just organize the people into another block and make the parties come to us. You know what I mean? Like get the people registered into a block, and then make this party come and not just speak to us, but make promises and put them in writing if they want our vote. You know, say we got X amount of votes over here. We got, you know, on the local level, we got 3,000 votes. You know what I mean? Like, we're not saying we're not Democrat or Republican. We're whoever is gonna give us this, this, and this. You know what I mean? But now we scare people when they talk about a third party. That's the first thing we say. Well, if you make a third party, then that's gonna help the Republican. You know what I mean? That's the scare tactic that Democrats use. But then they know that, so they don't have to give us anything, because they know that they got our vote for, you know, in their pocket. You know, in this national thing, of course, you know, everybody wanted Trump out, you know what I mean? Don't get me wrong, but at the same time, like, Biden knew that, you know, and now he's basically not doing very much of anything for us, you know, but you know, that's a whole nother subject. But I think we do have to get out of that mindset of like you're saying, like, we're just gonna automatically vote Democrat. No, we need to get registered, and we need to make an agenda and make them come to us and say, okay, if you want this 2,000 votes, you know, from Lee County, you know what I mean? Like, you're gonna have to give us this. You're gonna have to put this in our community. You're gonna have to give our local Boys and Girls Club this, you know, put this amount of police, you know, out of our community here. You know what I mean? Like, we have to have an agenda and make them come to us. And I think it will, you know, it will work, you know? So, yeah.
And that's the thing about a Black agenda. You got to let people know that there is what's in the Black agenda. You can't just keep saying, you know,
yeah, you got to put it in right. Yeah,
what is the Black agenda?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm sorry, guys, but I got to jump off real quick, man.
Yeah, I appreciate it, man.
I would love to be on with Charles, man, but
I appreciate it.
We'll catch you later, man.
All right, man. God bless you, man. All right, tell Rome I'm praying for him, man.
Thanks, man.
Okay.
Good to see you, Ron. Be blessed, bro.
All right.
Yeah, so yeah, with that, anybody else have anything else y'all would like to say that we missed on?
Well, I think the whole bottom thing is that would you put a $200,000 home into a neighborhood where the house is only valued at $50,000 or $75,000? Would you build a few? Would you?
No.
Likewise with the Republican and Democrat, why go to a community where they don't even value themselves? They have no value, so they'll bring no value to me. That's why I only go to them when I want their vote, because their vote is more valuable, but themselves, they're not. Until we begin to value ourselves, they have no reason to value you. That's why I say I don't have haters. I look at people as motivators. You are a compliment to me. You're not a threat to me. My biggest enemy is my inner man, not my out man. So that's why
I'm talking about the block of votes itself. You know what I mean? Like you're saying, they do need our votes, you know what I mean? So what we gotta do is come up with an agenda to say, well, at least if you want this vote, you have to do this in our community. And I agree with you that we don't value ourselves enough to make them, you know what I mean? Like we don't call their hand, we don't force their hand on nothing, you know what I mean? And they know that, you know.
The reason I get things done is because they know I value myself. They don't talk to me any kind of way.
Right.
They know I value myself, and they know I know my value.
Yeah. Well, guys, it's been great. You got something, Josh?
Yeah, I was just gonna add, man, I agree with what Charles and Ron said, man. At the end of the day, I think you gotta, if we gonna vote Democrat, we gotta hold them accountable for what they saying. Just like what you were saying. You gotta put your feet to the fire, because if our vote is the one that got them out in there, they gotta know our vote gonna be the one that get them out of there too. You know what I mean? Let them know, hey, you said this right here. Now we done gave you trial run, or however you want to say it. You know what I mean? And let them know, hey, just like we got you in there, we're gonna get you out of there, because there's some stuff that we need to be done in our communities. And if we ain't seeing it done, then we don't need you in there to represent us, because you're not representing us. You know what I mean?
I agree. Well, let's try to make this a pretty common occurrence. I won't say how often, but I really appreciate you guys taking the time out. And if you got any ideas more, shoot them to me, and we can have another one of these meetings sometime soon. Everybody in agreement with that?
Sounds good to me.
Okay. All right. God bless you.
I appreciate you inviting me.
All right. Later. Okay.
Appreciate you.